Satnam Yogis and Yoginis, hello and welcome back to one more part in this Mul Mantra course. We're gonna go today into Akal Murat. As usual, we will be chanting a little bit of the mantra and then of the Mul Mantra and then Akal Murat by itself, and then we will meditate a little bit and reflect upon what does it mean and how is that connected to the other parts of the Mul Mantra. And what principle does it talk about, and what virtue is it calling upon, so that when we are living aligned with these principles of the Mul Mantra, that we are cultivating these qualities within us. So let us start by chanting. Ik onkar satnam karta purak Nirbho nirvair Akal Murat Ajuni se bhangur prasad jap Ad sach yugat sach he bhi sach nanak hosi bhi sach. Ek onkar satnam karta purak Nirbho nirvair Akal Murat Ajuni se bhangur prasad jap Ad sach jugad sach he bhi sach nanak hosi bhi sach. Ek onkar satnam karta purak Nirbho nirvair Akal Murat Ajuni se bhangur prasad jap Ad sach yugat sach he bhi sach nanak hosi bhi sach. Ek onkar satnam karta purak Nirbho nirvair Akal Murat Ek onkar satnam karta purak Nirbho nirvair Akal Murat Nirbho nirvair Akal Murat Karta purak Nirbho nirvair Akal Murat Ek onkar satnam karta purak Nirbho nirvair Akal Murat Akal Murat Akal Murat Akal Murat Akal Murat So, Akal Murat, immediately Akal wants to be long and Murat wants to be short. It's happened before with this, like Satnam, yeah? Satnam. And we found this polarity between long and short sounds all throughout the Mul Mantra. It's pretty natural. But that's one thing. When we were doing this Satnam, we were in the fourth aspect and we were talking about the different ways in which we chant Satnam. And I mentioned how Sa is like Si, is yes, yeah? And it means life. And Na is no, and it means death in some ways. So Sat Nam would be like life and death. And we generally chant it a long Sat and a short Nam so that we are like crossing the ocean of life. Yeah. Now Akal, the way we chant Akal is really for the opposite. It's really for death. It's really when somebody dies and we want to let them cross the ocean of death. If we want to call it like that, we could say that there is, even in Greek mythology, yeah, they have in Hades, there is this river and there is a boatman, yeah, who can ferry you across. You have to cross. Akal is kind of like that. It's kind of giving you the vibration and the containment for your soul to go up to the beyond. And Sadnam is about crossing life, yeah, and Akal would be about crossing death. In some way, we could say it like this. And we will see that it is natural that Satnam is connected to Akal Murat, because we are, let's put it down on the paper. We are in the 8th aspect. Yeah. And I mentioned before that those which add up to 10, so 1 and 9, 2, 1, 8, 3, and 7, 4, and 6, yeah, they are connected. So the Akal Murat is going to be connected to the second one. So in a way, it's going to be connected to the Ong. But there is other connections, because 8 equals 4 plus 4 is at 2 4s. So it's going to be connected to Satnam as well. We will see in which ways it manifests. It happens in a number of ways, this connection. But we just saw how chanting Akal for the moment of death, contrasting Satnam when we are in the living. Yeah. And there was another connection that we saw, and we talked about this earlier when we were looking at the letter K, and how the letter K, it's already very much from the beginning, from the Ek of Ekonkar, and that was the little pebble or rock hitting on the surface of the water, and the echo was coming up like the Ong, and in the car it was touching again. So the Ek was repeating, was creating a pattern. And we have seen it in the Ek and in the Ong with the G, yeah? And we found it in the car, and then we found it in Karta Purak, and now we find it again in Akal Murat, which was this Fibonacci sequence that I spoke about. Now, Karta Purak and Akal Murat, they do look and sound and feel very different, very similar actually. Karta Purak, Akal Murat, yeah? So we would, if we put it next to each other, let's do this. We can, which is where we talked about Fibonacci, yeah? We can see how this Ura is the same, yeah? And this A and long elongated Ale is also the same. So Akal, Karta, and Purak, Murat. So these are similar sounds. So there is a certain, very strong vibration between the 5 and the 8. And there is some sounds which are different, like particularly the L, because the K is here, yeah? And the R is here. So these sounds are already here, and the T is here. So you see Karta and the K and the R and the T. So it's just more like an evolution of it. And Purak, the K is also here. Remember that this was kind of encapsulating what was within. You can see it in yellow here, We're not going to go into that again. But to say that the P has changed, yeah, and now there is an M, and the L has appeared, and this is the first time that the L appears. So we have a connection between the 8 and the 5 as well, and I think that connection we can see it even in the very shape of the number 8. The number 8, it's like two circles together. The 5 is the number in the middle of 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's a number which is related, is connected to the center. And also, if you remember, in the 5 we were talking about the center of inflection, yeah, the point of inflection, which is when you reach the middle of this sequence of numbers, yeah. So 5 is the middle point. We could relate to the 5 as the middle point in the number 4, and we will also therefore be able to relate to the 5 as the middle point between the two sides of number 8, which, by the way, represents infinity. And we are going to talk about that as well, because sometimes we talk about God as the infinite one, yeah, or as infinity. And in a few videos back, we were talking about Nirbhau, how much when we are facing something that is unknown to us, there is this fear coming up. And the greatest unknown is God. So there is this relationship towards God in relation to this infinite one, yeah? And then what's going to happen with our fears and our anger and so on. This is Nirbhau, Nirver, yeah? So in Akal Murat, we're also going to have a connection to the infinite one. And so we're going to connect it to what has been happening throughout the last parts of the Mul Mantra. So the K is a memory. It's already connecting to the echo of the Ek, yeah? It reminds us that we come from the Ek Onkar, and this is the memory, and it's coming back in Akal Murat. And now we have an ocean to cross. Yeah. So in a way, this is telling us, don't forget the K, don't forget the Ek, don't forget the one in capital letters and the one in small letters, your little one, your soul, and the big one, God. Don't forget it along the journey as you are climbing up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Ekonkar, Satnam, Kartapurek. As you are climbing up, don't forget that little one. This is kind of like when we were saying, don't forget the Kundalini, don't forget the sound of the S, of the Satnam, and we were bringing it into Kartapurek and finding an extra layer of meaning to Kartapurak when we introduce the letter S, the sound S to it. But here now we are with number 8, and you can draw it as an infinity, and we may relate to that in that way. I'm going to draw it just as we generally relate to it. Well, that was a pretty good 8. I'm not usually this good with the shapes and the drawings I do. This is pretty good, if I may say so myself. All right, so this is number 8, and here you see we're going to have 8 is 4 plus 4. Yes, there's the Satnam within, so we're going to have that right here. And you see this side and this side, they are like a mirror to each other. So I'm going to go ahead and start drawing the mirror image of the number 4 on the other side. And you can see this pretty much as if it was, you could say this is like the material. This is material. Let's say matter, yeah? And this is spirit. In a way, it's kind of like Purusham Prakriti, yeah? This is the higher you go, the more into the Purusha realm you are. the more you are connected to Purusha. Not that Purusha is not down here. The spirit comes down, yeah? But our spirit is living in the ethers, yeah? It wants to go back up. Down in matter is Prakriti. Our spiritual essence, our soul, has been crystallized kind of into matter, and it wants to go back up. It wants to go into the higher realms. So kind of like the soul wants to go up and the spirit is descending down, sort of. Yeah, a little bit, kind of like that. As the spirit is coming down, the spirit is crystallizing. But at some point the spirit will raise, and as we die, we want to go up again. But we could say that this is, we could look at this, let's see. Let's say this is life. Yeah. And then this is death. And we live in a constant cycle of life and death. This is what we call samsara. And we explore this cycle within us. Actually, every moment we breathe, yeah? We inhale, we exhale, yeah? Or let's do it like this, inhale and exhale. And as we are inhaling, we are feeling the life, pranic energy into our bodies. And as we exhale, it's like dying. So breathing is like a mirror of what's happening here. And we live our life in this realm. And then we die, and then we come back, and then we live and die and live and die. And this is the ocean of samsara which needs to be crossed. This is what the teachings tell us, that there is an ocean and needs to be crossed. And maybe Akal Murat is telling us, don't forget the K, don't forget the Ek, don't forget to one, don't forget the soul. And as if you don't forget it, you can raise up and cross this point. Now this point, remember, is the middle point, is the 5. So how can we cross this samsara? Is through the word, by repeating the name, yeah? By repeating the name, we can cross this ocean. And as we die, we can go just into the very low levels of heaven and hell, or we can go higher and reach into the blue ethers or the Kans. Yeah? This is a whole another subject. The blue ethers is very beautiful topic, but it would be impossible to cover now. We would need a video for that. But this is what let's just say that the blue ethers are where the gurus are, and well, the gurus are everywhere, but where you can meet with these divine beings and learn something so that you don't repeat the same karma over and over again in every life. We are not guaranteed to go into the blue ethers after we die, so there is really a journey that we have to go to get into that. And in the Japji, they talk about this, Guru Nanak talks about this blue ethers, which he calls the Kans. But there is a kind of crossing together as well, yeah? There is a very difficult path to cross to get into the blue ethers. And we can do this through the name, through the word, yeah, repeating the name. So, remember the Ek sound, the first thing, yeah, the first sound was mentioning already the word, and the 5th chakra being active, the throat, because the K sound, K, vibrates in the throat. So, by the word vibrating in the throat, we are just saying that the K sound, let's just remember this for a moment. the K of Akal, yeah? The K sounds is related to knowledge. This is the sound, K, yeah? It's not the letter, so many words which start with C would also be related to the K sound. So the thing about the K sound is kind of having this knowledge, and not everybody has access. So who can have, let's say, access? Yeah, access to it. And if you have access to it, it's like you are part of the club, yeah, or the coven, or you are part of the class, you could say, yeah. Maybe you are part of the clan, yeah. Club, the coven, the class, the clan. Maybe you are the king of them, yeah. Who has access to this knowledge, yeah? Because the knowledge is locked. And you need a key, yeah. Right? So the K sound is telling us all of this. Look, there is a knowledge, there is a profound knowledge, there is a wisdom contained in it, and there is a key to open it. And the key, is connected to the K sound, and that's connected to the 5. So we are exploring this key through Ek, Ong, Kar, Satanam, Karta, Puraka, Nirbha, Nirver, Akal Murat. So the K sound and the G sound, because G is a softer K, is giving us this key to open up the lock and to have access to the higher realms, to the blue ethers, to access the blue ethers. So that's a very interesting thing in relationship to the K, but we already knew the K. As I mentioned, we had the K, the M, the R, and the T. We were already present from previous sounds along the Mul Mantra. What is the new sound? Well, the new sound is the L. This is the first time that the L sound appears. And again, connection to the 1, because the vibration of the L sound, it's stimulating the first chakra, so number 1 is connected there. But let's just go into the letter L and let's explore it a little bit in depth. Let's go to L. Well, let's do as we do always. Check. Where do we have it? Here. Margaret Magnus's book on the letters. And we go to letter O. I thought I had prepared it. All right. 1 second. Here it is. Let me just move the sticker. Okay. So L is an amorphous mass which can be induced to move, but unlike R, it will not force its way through on its own. So it is liquid, air, and light. Liquid, air, and light. Well, to me that's very interesting because you see liquid is the second element. You remember with Ong that we had the waves of the water. And air is in the heart and the Satnam. So it's liquid and air, it is connected, and it's also light. Now light is generally something that we associate to the number 10, because 10 is the circle, and the circle is like the sun. So let me just do this a little bit darker, because it was too shiny. So number 8 is like a 0 that has been twisted, you see? So untwisting the 0, you can find untwisting 8, you can find the 0. This is like saying 10 is God, and 8 is infinity, and through infinity you reach God. Yeah, so the light is there. And also interesting that sometimes we say light can be both particle and wave. This is what science tells us. So there is the wave of the water, but there is also a particle, like the little pebble, the rock of the ek, yeah, the rock hitting the water. So there is a spark of light in that rock hitting the water and creating the waves. I find these images helpful to relate to these concepts. Let's carry on with this L. L is a line of any shape. It fills in whatever space is available to it. When followed by a vowel, it flows and blows or glows and clusters and gloms together. But this is not our case, because our case is akal, so it's not followed by a vowel, it's at the end. So let's say what she said about the L. In the initial position, it tends to stay. She says something important as well. It can be large or little depending on how big the room is that it fills. L is the phoneme of feeling. So feelings coming to the picture now. In the initial position, it generally can stay like light, loose, loving, lively. But in the final position, it's often ailing, wailing, boiling, scowling. I found some other more like spoil, toil, boil, boil. Yeah, all these are kind of almost dark. Yeah, painful. And she mentioned this is the L. How did she say it? Is the phoneme of feeling. The phoneme of feeling. So the sound of feeling. It could be light and loving, but it's not. It's at the end of the akal. So it's actually going to call on our ail, boil, wail, toil, spoil, all these sounds. This is what's coming as we are talking about akal. It's not surprising that these are the sounds that are being called upon, because akal is connected to death, as we will talk in a moment, yeah? But so this is already the L sound is telling us, look, there's going to be a lot of feelings, and they are not particularly light feelings. Actually, they are the opposite. They are dark feelings. So we are talking into the darkness. After all, we are connecting to the number of infinity, yeah? And as we think of infinity, you probably visualize like the universe, right? Infinite universe, and it's full of darkness. So here we are connecting to the suffering again of the ong. You remember ong? Ek ong, and there was a longing to belong, and there was a pain and a suffering and a feeling of separation, an apparent feeling of separation, which was not true. That's what Maya was telling us, but it's not true. We are not separated, but it feels like that, and that's what the pain, it's the origin of any pain in life, comes from that separation from the one. If we had stayed true to the Mul Mantra and we could have crystallized the virtues of it, we would realize that Ong it's telling us, look, there is an extension, but there's no separation. Yeah, so that could be it. But as we approach Akal and as we approach death, then inevitably, especially if somebody dies close to us, inevitably those feelings again of the separation wake up, and then we are connected to the Ong again, and the pain is going to be there, the suffering is going to be there, and we have to relate to it in some way that we can purify it, we can clean it out. Because if we go into the wailing and the toil and the then it's like a spiral, like a downward spiral, which very much looks like a number 8. It can be like whirlpool that catches you and brings you down, and it doesn't let you go back up, like a depression. Yeah. So Kal is telling us, be careful with that. Yeah. But the L is all those meanings. Yeah. I was just talking about all the things that L relate to, but remember, this is not just L. It's Akal. Kal. Yeah. And I mentioned when we were coming into after Kartapurek how the next sounds were all negating something. The first Ekonkar Satnam were affirming our identity. Kartapurek is the sacrifice. What do we have to sacrifice? Nirvo, Nirver, Akal Murat Ajuni. Nir meant without, but like Akal also means without or negates what comes. The sound A, it's negating what comes afterwards. So we have this A sound, yeah? Let's put it here. Kal. Ka is no. So, we have in English words that also follow the same prefix. This is a prefix, and it says like, for example, let's say arrhythmia, Okay. My spelling, checking in my head. Is this correct? I think it is. Atypical. So something that has no rhythm, yeah, no rhythm. Something that is not typical, yeah, and we could find many others, yeah. So arrhythmia, atypical. This is no something, no something. So the A is going to be negating. So we are talking about there is a wailing, there is a toil, there is a boil, there is a spoil. So there is all these feelings that we're waking up back from Ong, and this is telling, wait, don't just go into that. Yeah, don't just go into that darkness, that black hole. Yeah, this aid becoming like a whirlpool that is kind of pulling you down. Yeah, and not so much into life, but actually death in life. Yeah, being in life, but the death being while kind of death while alive. And this is not the good, nice jiva mukta, which is the term that we use to say death while alive and being in the world but not of the world and a liberated being. No, this is somebody who is now really deep depression and cannot get out. So they are alive, but they feel like that. That's the kind of danger that we approach as we are coming into contact with this L sound. Well then, okay, we found a few of these, but let's explore the whole of them together. So Akal, we have the K and we have the L, and Murat, we have the M, we have the R, and we have the T. And as usual, I try to first, just from my own language and the languages I know, which words come up. And then we will go into the actual meaning and explore the actual meaning of the words Akal Murat. But first of all, let's start with K and L. And, well, I'm Spanish, so inevitably I go into Spanish first. And the first things I see is a clave, which is a key, the key. Yeah, remember? I was talking about the lock and the key. So this is the key. Yeah. I have cola. It's the glue. It's a glue, something that sticks things together. And then we have kal. If we just see kal, like akal, yeah. Kal, I actually don't know. I don't know the name in English for this, but it's a white kind of substance, like a white stone that traditionally my father was from Menorca. So in the island of Menorca, most of the houses, they paint them with cal. They mix cal with water, I think, and they paint the houses because the cal protects from the elements but also kills all the bugs, all the insects and the bacteria that may be in the ground. So that's why you have these very picturesque landscapes in Menorca, all these white houses, little white houses, because traditionally it was like that. You would paint them white. So the fact that they kill all the nasty things, that's very interesting because it's a way of purifying the house. And so it's connected. Cal is actually connected to killing the bugs and purifying. That may come back later on. Let's see a few words from English as well. Let's put it here. So we have a class. Yeah, I mentioned, you are part of the clan, you're part of the class. I already mentioned, yeah. If you have access to the knowledge. CL, it's also about like climate, the climate, climax, like a certain ecstasy. And that the gurus sometimes when they are chanting and they are talking about reaching the ethers or being in the ethers, being in the presence of the one and uniting with one, they talk about it like a climax, yeah? Like a very elevated experience. And there's another CL that's very interesting. It's clear, clear, clear. I like clear because it's cleaning, yeah, clearing, clean. There is a purifying aspect. You see, so it's connected to this purifying. And I think it's not a coincidence because remember that 2 and 8 are connected. Ong was connected to the water, and this movement of the 8 is flowing like the water, and there is a watery quality to number 8 as well. And now water is the element that we use to clean things. We don't use fire to clean our dishes, we use water. Therefore, there is a quality associated to water, which is cleanliness or purification. So, in this case, the CL sound of Akal, which is number 8 is calling, this is going to have an effect of cleaning, and cleaning impurities. Yeah, the death of the impurities is the purity. So, it's related to purifying and cleaning. And by cleaning everything that is disturbing you, you find a place of calm. I love the word calm because it has kal, but it also has the M, which comes from forward. Yeah. Actually, I even like it more in Spanish because if we say you calm down, we call it calmarte, to calm yourself down. Calmarte. Well, it has Marte, yeah, MRT. Maybe I could already put it here, yeah. Marte, that's the god of war, yeah. Mars, yeah, Mars in English is the god of war. But look, Marte, MRT. But calmarte means to calm yourself down, and it has the C, the L, the M, the R, and the T. And I believe it's not that Akal Murat is by itself already enough to calm yourself down. Actually, its path is the path towards the calm. So by purifying and cleaning everything that is toxic, you are finding this calm. So we're going to see that calmarte, this calm, actually is already pointing towards the 9th aspect. So after purifying all that you have to purify, after cleaning all that you have to clean, after killing everything that it has to be dead, then you reach the 9th aspect of Ajuni. And we will go into that in the next video. But if you remember, every one of the Mul Mantra, every particle brings you to the next. Yeah. If Onkar, yeah, if there is a certain equality, then what do I do when I'm in front of somebody else? No, like from the 3 to the 4. Well, then it calls upon your willingness to do service for the other one, yeah, and so on. Every time we have been moving along from Ek to Ong to Kar to Sadnam, we have seen how one step is a consequence of the previous one, and it's going to bring about the next one. So Akal Murat, with this calmness, it's already telling us where are we going. But let's not go too quick. Let's just go into that so fast. We have also more words from MRT. In Spanish, we would say mira. And mira means look. That's going to be relevant, yeah, this word. We will go into it a little bit more. But we had the Mars, I mentioned. We have mar, we could just say mar or mer. It could be the sea or mother, yeah? So the sea is water, and the water energy, I was just talking about how is that connected. Mother, the mother is the one who gives you life, but there is connected also to death, at least in Hindu mythology, because there's like Mother Kali, yeah, and Kali is the goddess of death. We can already put it here. So in the yogic, yeah, perspective, KL would be associated to Kali, which would be the goddess of death. Yeah. So let's carry on with MRT. There is this mirth, which is kind of happiness and joy, maybe connected to the climax as well. There's also another word like matrix, but matrix, even though it's very interesting to bring it here, the T and the R are the other way around. So I'm not going to refer to it too much right now. But there is two very important words. One is, in Spanish, muerte. And actually, in English, you would say mortal. Yeah? Somebody who dies. That's very interesting that it appears here. We will see what this means in Gurumukhi, but we will see. Mortal, yeah? And also martyr. Isn't martyr somebody who has sacrificed themselves? And weren't we talking about that in the Kartapurak video? How there is a need to make a sacred action. Yeah? A sacred action that's the sacrifice. And so if you are sacrificing, then there is a certain aspect of martyr in you. And you don't necessarily have to suffer for that sacrifice, because there is a faith, something that you will remember from the virtue of the sixth principle. Yeah, there is a faith that you require in order to cross the five and sacrifice. Yeah, after you sacrifice, the faith is becoming more and more clear. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the actual meaning of the words Akal and Murat, and also other words that we can find connected to the K and the L and the M and the R and the T. There's a few more that it's interesting in Gurumukhi or Sanskrit. Would be the word of karma, even though the R and the M and the are the other way around here, but it's interesting that it's connected. And also the word karta, like Kartapurak, yeah, we can find KRT, we already talked about that. Kali, we mentioned that. But there is also a very, very beautiful one that is not here, which is, remember I mentioned about bringing the S forward, like when we were doing in the, let's do this, Kartapurak, we were bringing the S and finding the sacred and the secret action, which brought us into sacrifice. And the Purusha plus the S was the presence of being. Well, what happens if we carry on with this S? If we continue with the S, we're moving forward, then, look, Simrat, which is like Simran, yeah? Simrat. This is a remembrance, the constant remembrance, the repeating the name, the constantly be repeating Satnam, Satnam with every breath, so that every time you are moving in your cycle in the day, this breath between life and death, you put there the name so that someday you may cross. I find that very beautiful. But let's explore what Kal and Murat actually mean. So if I was looking at the Sanskrit and Gurmukhi dictionaries this week, as every week I do, and in the Sanskrit dictionary we find that Kal relates to counting, and counting relates to time, particularly within time, not things, but in time. And so, and the numerating as well. And Kal, that can mean also death by age. It's a particular kind of death. There are many kinds of death, yeah? But when we say Kal, we are referring to somebody who dies because they have lived many years, so they are old to die, yeah? So death by age. Kal is also the name of the color black, and they also mention like the black part of the eyes. So I found that very curious. I don't know if it has any sense to Akal Murat, if it's connected in some way. Though I think, this blackness of the sky, like the infinite that we were looking into, I think, yeah, that's connected. And, we have two pupils, and there is a number 8 between them. I don't know, somehow I see maybe mystical connections everywhere. At some point, when you go deep enough, there's connections everywhere. Maybe I'm going too far, but let's carry on. So, Kal, meaning time, meaning counting, meaning death, meaning black. And Akal, therefore, meaning deathless, somebody who doesn't die, something that doesn't die. And Murat, interesting, because when you listen to these words, Kal Murat in English or Spanish, to me, the death part is the Murat, is the muerte, is the mortal, right? Immortal. So that's funny that actually it is Akal which is talking about death. And I was trying to find then what does Murat mean? And Mrta in Sanskrit means something dead, deceased. Mr is to kill or to destroy. And remember about cleaning and clearing and destroying the bugs, the kal that we put to destroy the bugs to purify, yeah? And and in Gurumukhi, Murat, yeah, the way the Gurus, the way Guru Nanak spoke it, if you look in the dictionary, it's talking about how Murat is the shape or the form or an image, yeah? The shape, the form, or an image, or a person. So, Murat is actually the form, and Akal is telling us deathless. So it's a deathless form, something that doesn't die. It has the form of never dying. So that would be the direct translation, let's say. An undying form. And actually, because I just explored that, I'm going to write it right away. Could be a number of ways to translate it, but I'm going to write it like this, yeah? But before we complete that table, I would like to just mention some story from the Gurus, because in every video I have been telling stories from the Gurus, and I think it makes sense to talk about Guru Hare Krishna. And you will remember from the last video that Guru Hare Krishna was the second, he was the smaller brother, yeah? Because the other one agreed to change some words from the Adi Granth, and so Guru Hare Krishna became the next Guru, was appointed the next Guru. When his father died, he was only 5 years old. So that's very small, 5, 6. And so I think he was the youngest Guru, and actually the one who lived the shortest. Krishna, his name is kind of connected to Kar, like action, and Ishan is kind of connected to Ishnan, which is like the cleaning yourself in the water in the mornings. So it would be like the action of bathing and purification. So purification is something that is going to be connected. Yeah, it's a virtue that is going to be connected. I'm just going to make a note here. A little note. So the story tells us that he was very small, and actually he was put to the test a few times to prove that he was actually the Guru and that he had the wisdom to lead the Sikh nation. And he passed those tests. I'm not going to go into those stories, but I would like to say one little thing. When he was 8 or almost 8, I'm not sure about this. You know, some of the accounts and the writings on these things, they are not very precise, so it's hard to tell. But if he wasn't 8, he was almost 8 years old. He was the 8th Guru, yeah? And he traveled to Delhi. And he was going to have a meeting with the Mughals at that time. And he was going to have to, he was going to be questioned again about their alliance, no? And whether he was going to be willing to change some lines from the Guru and so on and so forth. But he never met with the Shah. Is it called the Shah? The emperor, yeah, the Mughal emperor at that time, because as he was coming to Delhi, Delhi was in shambles. It was a disaster. There was an outbreak of smallpox, and I think it was cholera as well. And the waters in the city were poisoned or infected, let's say, and people were dying by the thousands. And it was like disease was everywhere. And as he came into the city, people were telling him about this to Guru Hare Krishna, and he decided to drink from the water of the wells. And as he drank that, he fell sick and he died that night. But on the next morning, those who had drank from that well, or those who were in that city or in that area of the city, they all got healed. So anybody who would go to the well and drink, they would heal themselves. I think it's absolutely a very beautiful sacrifice. You know, how much energy does a guru have in their body to do everything they have to do in their life? Yeah. Imagine putting all that energy into one action, one sacrifice, one compassionate action for all those people who are suffering, which, by the way, they were not necessarily Sikhs. There were some Sikhs there, but Delhi was the Hindu area, and it was like there was the Muslims who had been converted and the Muslims who were invading, and there was the Hindus there and a few Sikhs who were visiting, but they were not in his town, and he sacrificed himself for everybody who was suffering from that. That's like the biggest compassion that he was demonstrating, through that act of utilizing all his body energy, all his energy that he had to be a guru, and used it to transform those waters and purify them by killing the nasty bacteria and viruses that were there. So that's the story of Guru Harikrishnan when he was 8 years old and purifying. And I think we have enough to go into the principles, the virtues, and the virus. And you will remember that, which, by the way, when he died, he was so young, he was 8. So who was going to be the next guru? He didn't appoint anyone. He said, he lives in that town. But, after he died, many people who wanted to be gurus, also from the family, uncles and brothers and whatever, they all moved to that town. So there was a lot of confusion on who would be the next guru. But that would be a story for another video, yeah? But let's go here. So let's go from this sacrifice, yeah? So you need to be fearless to be able to sustain the justice, yeah? And to be able to, unsheath your sword to defend those who need to be defended, yeah? Not to fight against anyone, but to fight for the truth, for the love. And it takes a lot of faith, yeah? To face what is coming and to face the future. Now, if you're going to see what's coming in front of you in order to raise the sword, it's very easy to create karma the moment you take the sword and the moment you take the path of the warrior. So it's not just about faith, it's not about blind faith, it's about faith, but you have to see clearly things. Now, if you are blinded by the past, you're not going to see clearly. So everything that you wrote down in your ledger, you kept a track of every wrongdoing that somebody did to you or that you did to others. All that has to be cleaned, all that has to be erased. Otherwise, you're going to be seeing everything in front of you through the eyes of somebody who's looking for revenge or something like that. So the next step has to be forgiveness and mercy. This is the path of the hero, the one who is able to forgive, have mercy, and clear the slate, let's say, yeah? So now we come into undying form. You see, if you're going to be raising the sword, you're going to face death. Yeah, you are already creating a big sacrifice, and something is going to die. Now, when you are approaching this, you're approaching it from the point of compassion. So we forgive the past to be able to live in the now, in the infinite, like ever-flowing moment of the now, sacrificing anything else and compassionately relating to what is happening right now. Yeah, all the energy that is moving. With this sword, you are killing all the impurities. Yeah, so you are connecting to purity. Yeah, the water is cleaning up, and there is a purity. There is one part of us which never dies. There is that part of us which is going to race through the gap and reach the blue ethers, yeah? And we can relate to that part of us, and we can relate to that part in the others. So when we are facing somebody who is in a very karmic disposition, they are creating a lot of karma by insulting or attacking or bullying others, you can compassionately face that part of us and talk to the soul of that person and relate to the soul of that person. Yeah, that takes a lot of compassion, and in a way, it's trying to purify everything that is not coming from that soul. Yeah, a lot connected to the ego. Now, compassion has to arise from a point of empathy. Let me see, where did we talk about empathy before? Here, in the previous video, we talk about how it's not about being friendly or unfriendly or having friends and enemies. It's not about sympathies and antipathies. Because if you have sympathy for somebody, you may feel pity of them and you may want to help them. That's not service. Yeah, help is not service. Help is you putting yourself above the other and thinking you are the rescuer. And that's a game that the mind and the ego likes to play. You are serving the other, you are serving the soul in the other. That's different. That's a relation that it's neutral and it's coming from empathy. So remember that when we are relating to the Sangat and the community and we want to serve, we want to do it from that point of empathy. So it's not about feeling pity for others, because pity will put you in a position that you think you are better than them. That's not equality, that's not kar, yeah? And that's seeing them, maybe you are friendly to them and you want to help them because you feel you are in a more privileged position. This is all inequality. A point of equality is neutral and is compassion. Inequality is when you go into, pity. Into pity. Yeah? And impurity, yeah, would be as well. Yeah? So there we go. Now we have it. It's coming along well. We are going to come into calmness. Yeah, we're going to reach the calmness in the next step, but that will be next step. I think this is a good point to stop. Thank you for watching the video. If you found something of service to you, please, I hope you consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed already, and just click the like button. It doesn't take long to support the channel. Thank you very much, and until next time, Sanam.